Showtime is here, no time to fear. Carell is so near because Showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Carell is the one that you need to know. Now it's Showtime.
Tra-la-la-la-la. I'm coming to work, I'm coming to work, I'm coming to work, to work, to work. Here I come. Coming to work. All right, it is the Carell Show. I am Carell, so very glad you are joining me. I almost didn't join you. You can join me, but doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to join you. So on today's show, we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about media. We're going to talk a little bit about Bad Bunny. We're going to talk a little bit about healthcare. And then we're going to talk, of course, about Epstein. Because I saw a senator or a congressperson who has seen the unredacted files speak out. And I share his sentiment. So I'll just play what he told Midas Touch. Also, on this day in history, in 1972, Ziggy Stardust landed. That's right. David Bowie and Ziggy Stardust landed, honey. And what a day that was for music, right? So that was a cool this day thing that happened this day. So I want to, hello everyone in the chat room at youtube.com/Willie Carell. So glad you are joining me. Greetings from Bastrop, Texas. Well, good Lord. Hello, Texas. Hello, Yosemite. Wow, we are truly an international show, which is why we are in the top 10% of all independent podcasts. There's two kinds of podcasts. Those by Lemonada and iHeart and all of that. And, of course, Joe Rogan. They're all like at the top, because they have millions of downloads and all that. And then there's independent podcasts like mine. And when it comes to independent podcasts, we're in the top 10%. So that's pretty cool. All right, before we begin all the topics of the day, David Hall, my mentor, I should give him $1 every time I mention his name. Well, he doesn't need it. David Hall used to tell me, you have topics that you should care about. You have topics that you do care about. And then you have topics about what's really going on in your life. And he always said, I don't care whether you think the audience is going to relate or not. I always want you to talk about what's really going on in your life first, because you're going to be amazed how many people in the audience will connect to it. So healthcare is on my mind a lot right now. For both you and I, as Medicare is denying. For the first time ever, I've been going to get things done, and they're like, oh, that's no longer covered. I went to the neurologist, and they give me an annual brain test. It's called Brain Check on an iPad. The lady walked in with a notepad, and I said, what's going on? She said, oh, your insurance, United Healthcare, AARP Advantage, Medicare Advantage, no longer covers the brain check on the iPad. So we have to do this, pad and paper thing. I'm all, you know what? I'll just pay for it. Just bring me the damn iPad. So they couldn't find out how much it cost for me to pay for it. Excuse me, I've cracked a almond biscuit in my throat. Wish I had Bad Bunny. Anyway, they couldn't even find out how much it was. But I took the brain test anyway. And so MRIs have gone from 150 to 250. So I told my neurologist, we're not doing any this year. We'll do them every other year. And of course, with the GOP fighting over God knows what, your healthcare premiums have all increased. And more importantly, your out-of-pocket costs have all increased. So healthcare is on my mind. And my dog's healthcare is on my mind. Her insurance is expensive. They've gone up to $250 a month. They don't cover anything that's pre-existing, and everything at her age is pre-existing. And right now, she's having a problem. And she'll know it because she's acting healthy. But her triglycerides were 2,400. They're normally 800 to 1,100, which is still too high. We're being redrawn tomorrow in a 14-hour fasted state. I've been on the phone all morning with the vet to get her approved for Balance It. So Balance IT, a service out of UC Davis, where you input your dog, what they need, if they have any special medical needs, and then it creates recipes that you cook at home and a supplement that they tailor to the recipe, and you buy the supplement. So we're going to do that because she has two things that are conflicting. She has bladder stones, which requires low protein, low magnesium. She has the hyperlipidemia, which requires a different...
If you're not visiting reallycorrell.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast, videos, and the blog, including recipes at reallycorrell.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Corel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Corel is the one that you need to know.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to go on about it. It's probably of no interest to you, but, you know, her low-fat Royal Canin, which is $60 for a 6-pound bag, that's not good for her bladder stones. And her bladder stone prescription diet is not good for her fat. So right now she's on the low fat. Tomorrow morning, 14-hour fasted blood work, another $200 that insurance will not cover. But what am I going to do? It has to be done. So charge it. Credit card. Here we come. And, you know, my doctor is not familiar with this drug called Tricor that they do give to dogs, even though it's a human drug. And it reminds me of the days of Andrew with HIV/AIDS, where they didn't really have any drugs, and so they were grabbing at this drug or grabbing at that drug. And some of them really helped. Some of them didn't. And when you have a loved one or yourself and you're sick, or you have a problem like these triglycerides, you want to find a way to fix it. You know, and so I talked to her doctor last night, and he said, look, if this Tricor worked and was a great thing, why aren't more vets prescribing it? Well, in all the research I read, they say because they're just not aware that that in the future, it will be the drug of choice for dogs with high lipids. That's what I'm reading, that in the future. Right now, it's still just being prescribed off-label and it's not approved for pets, but the company's going to submit it, which costs a lot of money, for pets. But it goes back to healthcare. You have to take and be in control of your healthcare and of your loved ones, your pet, your children. And that's what our problem with the American healthcare system is. We are not in control of our healthcare. Our insurance companies are. And when your insurance company is in charge of your healthcare, people die. Because, for instance, in 6 weeks, if Ember's triglycerides are still over 1,000, I'm going to take her to an internal medicine specialist because they're the ones who are using this Tricor. And she is going to go on it. I am not going to lose her to pancreatitis or some other malady because of her high cholesterol. So if I have to go to a different doctor in 6 weeks, I will. If it's a specialist, I'll pay. Because I'm not going to let her not get the care she needs because A, one doctor doesn't really know about it, and B, the cost. And that equates right over to human care, does it not? How many of you, your doctor, could have treated you for something but didn't because they weren't aware of the treatment? Or, oh, that's, not blah, 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 or they're old-fashioned or whatever. And then your insurance doesn't cover it. The doctor says, oh, we have a great treatment for you, but your insurance doesn't cover it. That takes away your control of your own health care. And feeling that way, like I've been feeling for the last 3 days, Like, I'm like, put her on Tricor now. Like, right now. She's healthy. She's asymptomatic. My friend Tyler, his father is a vet. He was a vet for 40 years. I sent him the labs and explained everything to him because he's on his way to a vet convention. And he said, I don't understand. Your dog should be sicker. Your dog should have pancreatitis or hyperthyroid or Cushing's, but she's got none of those things. So how is she living with this number, first of all? And second of all, why isn't there an underlying condition causing this number? Because there appears to be no underlying condition causing the cholesterol. So I've got multiple people discussing this. But it brings me right back to the age of AIDS. And for many of you, if you get a cancer diagnosis, if you get some other disease diagnosis where there's conflicting opinions, you kind of don't know what to do. You've got one thing over here saying this might work. You've got another thing over here saying, oh, but this is dangerous. You've got another doctor over here saying we don't do that. You've got another doctor over here saying we should do that. Then you've got an insurance company right in the middle of it. It's no wonder our healthcare system is a mess, because what's happening to her happens to humans. And it's amazing to me. There are some drugs that are available for you as a human that you can't get because your insurance company won't cover it. That's why this Trump RX opened, which, by the way, New York Times went through of all the drugs available on Trump RX. And while they are discounted, they found generic brands that were even cheaper. So it's all a grift. It's all a grift. So healthcare, whether it's for you, your dog, your kids, it's such a complicated and time-consuming and emotionally draining. And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. But it is. You know? So, yeah, it's hard these days with costs for both humans and animals. It is. You know? So, we'll see. We'll see. Something is causing her triglycerides to not metabolize. We don't know what that is. We don't get it. So, we're trying to figure that out. And hopefully we will tomorrow. She's not going to like, tonight after 7, she can't eat. She ain't going to like that. But then she goes tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock for her labs. Yeah, so that's what I've been thinking about nonstop every day for the last 4 days. Ember's triglycerides and cholesterol. Her cholesterol is kind of okay. High is 300, her cholesterol is 400. Normally on its own, that would be fine. It's the triglycerides. And you know, when you have a healthcare issue for you or whatever, it does consume you, and your job doesn't understand that. Your friends don't understand that. But like if you're, for instance, my friend Brandon is getting he has a big, hard, swollen thing in his neck. It has taken them 3 months to get it out. He finally goes this week for the surgery. Can you imagine not knowing for 3 months? They did a test where they sucked out some stuff. They couldn't tell if it was cancerous or not. Can you imagine? 3 months, a lump in your neck, not knowing if it's cancerous. If he were wealthy, they would have had it out the next day. But because of his insurance, he has to go to this doctor, who then has to refer him to that doctor, who then has to schedule this procedure before they can do that procedure. They have to do the needle biopsy before they'll do a full biopsy. I mean, it's all these insurance rules. So for 3+ months, he's been wondering, am I going to be alive for my kids? Why? Because insurance says this is how he has to do things. We need major medical reform in this country. And we're not getting it. And why aren't we getting it? Because people are too upset about Bad Bunny. You know, because people, they don't care about their grocery prices. They don't care about the environment. They don't care that they're discriminating against trans or gays. They don't care about any of that. They care about Bad Bunny. Damn Spanish speakers. Damn people speaking Spanish. How dare they? How dare they speak a language that I don't understand? This is America. And in America, we speak American. No, we don't. We don't. If we spoke American in America, we'd be speaking Native American. But we don't. Okay, so This notion, oh, we speak America and American. No, we don't. We don't. We'd like to think that we do, but we don't. And people being upset, just really upset. I saw these people like breaking down in tears because Bad Bunny only spoke Spanish. Meanwhile, are they this upset over the Epstein files? There are people seeing the unredacted files, and there are 6 men that are being protected by our Justice Department. Their names are in the Epstein files, and they are people who are guilty of statutory rape, and they are being protected because they are rich and powerful. And meanwhile, the monster, Ghislaine Maxwell, she is a monster. She's a she-beast who should never see the light of day. She participated in child rape. She participated in sex trafficking knowingly. Sit your ass in jail for the rest of your life. So I saw Midas Touch asked I think it was Ro Khanna, about this. And his remarks and his outrage resonated with me. So I'm going to play them for you.
What can you tell us about what you saw today in the unredacted Epstein files?
I'm very concerned. First of all, most of the unredacted files were redacted. 70-80% of the documents the DOJ got were redacted from the FBI. The FBI didn't unredact it as the law was required. The grand jury wasn't unredacted. So a lot of it was smoke and mirrors. Second, Massey and I saw that there's 6 men who were co-conspirators, who were protected, and whose names were blotted out. Those names need to be made public.
Can you say who they are?
Well, DOJ needs to say who they are, and we're pushing to have them made public. But there's no excuse for releasing survivors' names, but protecting these 6 men. And there are probably more. That was just in 2 hours that we saw that these 6 men were being protected. But, you know, here's the point. This is bringing down the British government. It may bring down the British monarchy. It's bringing down countries and the elites across the country. What are we doing here in the United States to stand up to the Epstein class? I mean, we've got a commerce secretary who's all over the Epstein files. Where's the outrage? Where's the outrage at the billionaires in Silicon Valley, in finance, in Hollywood, they're going to Epstein's Island? We need moral accountability in the United States, just like they're having in so many other countries around the world.
Got it. Thank you, Henry. What can you tell us about what...
So I share his what is wrong with us. You know, in Europe, Keir Starmer is hanging on by a thread. Several people have already had to resign. Prince Andrew has been stripped. The royal family is in disgrace. In other countries, they're firing people, getting them out of office. What are we doing here? Worrying about Bad Bunny. What is our president commenting on? The fact that Bad Bunny spoke Spanish. Or he's mad at some Olympic skier. I mean, we have become a joke. An absolute joke. And the Epstein files are showing what a joke we are. I mean, and even these people that have seen the unredacted files, say the 6 fucking names. Don't tell us you have the names. He just said, well, I'm waiting for the Justice Department to release those names. Why, motherfucker? Say them now, right here to Midas Touch. The 6 names of the dirty bastards who were dealing in underage girls. Give us their names. Well, I'm waiting for the Justice Department. You mean Pam Bondi? You mean Trump sycophants? You're waiting for them? Because they ain't going to do it. Okay, honey? Got some news for you. That ain't going to happen. I have a better chance of becoming a billionaire than they do of releasing those files. So I share his outrage. I share his what the fuck is wrong with us? And why is it taking so long? Where is Anonymous when we need them? Someone needs to hack in and release to the press every document unredacted. We're adults. We can take it. What about the victims' names? They've released those. Those are they're not protected. Only the rich and powerful white guys. Ain't no black people in the Epstein files. Have you noticed that? Ain't no Hispanics. Ain't no gays. In fact, all the people that Donald Trump hates are not in the Epstein files. Maybe that's why he hates them. Maybe he hates the blacks, the gays, the Hispanics, because they ain't in the Epstein files. Meanwhile, ICE is continuing its reign of terror across the country, and we now know that only 14% of those arrested and incarcerated by ICE have any kind of criminal past. Only 14%. 86% of the people are innocent, and he won't stop. He won't stop it. And while we're over here arguing about Bad Bunny or this Olympic skier or, whatever, the people in the Epstein files are literally getting away with murder. And Donald Trump sits untouched. This is why, I really feel... Right, congressmen have immunity to say the redacted names on the floor of Congress. They could just say it on the floor, and that's it. They're immune. But will they? Nah, they'd rather just say, well, the names are in there, and I've seen them, but I ain't gonna tell you. I know who those 6 dirty bastards are, but I ain't gonna tell you. Well, gee, thanks. So kind. Very white of you. Literally.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
Where is that image? What did I do with that image? I thought there's an image I want you guys to see. Oh, here it is. Because I do want to talk about the news a little bit and media. And I saw this image last night, and it shook me. So let me try to get it here for you to see on this one-man show. Okay, here are the 3 newscasters for the major networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC. Here they are. There. That is David Muir and that Tony DeCoppola, whatever. And Tom Lama, or Tony Lama, or Ton Lama. And it goes David Muir, ABC, Tony Dokopoulos, CBS, and on the right, the Tony or Tom Lama from NBC. And when I saw that photo, look at them. Look at them. Do any of them look relatable to you? Do any of them look anything other than corporate hacks? Do any of them look like journalists to you? Look at them. Look at these 3. This is where a lot of people get their news from. And that's a shame. Now, the one on the end is a Cuban immigrant, although you'd never know it by the way he looks. And I saw that photo and I started doing some research. For instance, the ABC Nightly News has 8+ million viewers. Not that many out of 340 million people, but 8+ million viewers. However, they only really count 1.1 million of them because it only gets 1.1 million in the 25 to 54 demographic. The middle one, Tony, CBS, he only gets 660,000 in the 25 to 54 demographic. And NBC has the same dismal numbers in that demographic. But, for instance, what that means for ABC is that they get 9+ million, 1.1 million being in the 25 to 54, over 8 million being 55 or above or below 25. And they don't count. And so I thought to myself, my whole life in radio and media has been all about the 25 to 54 demographic. At KFI, when we got our numbers, that was the only one that really mattered. Television, same way. And for streaming, for Netflix, for all of that, that's who they program for, 25 to 54. So if you're over 55, you literally do not count. And yet, you and I are the ones doing the most watching, the most buying, the most consuming. The demographic model has switched, and television and streaming hasn't kept up, and that's why they're dying. They think they need to keep programming for younger and younger and younger. And it's not the young people who are engaged, involved, spending money, or watching. It's just not. For instance, I don't know too many people under the age of 50 watching the ABC, NBC, or CBS nightly news. I really don't. Fox News is all old. They know that. It's all old. And so the question becomes, if people over 55 are the ones with the most money, the ones with the most time, the most dedicated, the most politically active, do you know the average age of the Senate is 60? I have it in my description. I believe we have a president that's 80. We have an outgoing president that was 80. Our Congress and House and Senate, the average age in the House of Representatives is 57.9, and the average age in the Senate is 63.9. Cher is almost 80. Even the Super Bowl is 60. And yet, all of those demographics that I just mentioned, the House, the Senate, everything, to media, they don't count. They don't count. They're not being programmed to. And I know that you know what I mean. You guys have to go find programming that you like because the streaming services and the networks are not giving you programming that you like because they're giving you, even the Grammys. The Grammys, when you look at their numbers, it is older people that are watching in like 3-to-1. Yet they try to program for 18 to 25-year-olds or 25 to 54-year-olds. But when you look at their demographic breakdown of their ratings, that's not who's watching. And you have to wonder, why are all media companies actually ignoring the people that are actually watching and trying to program for people who aren't? It's really interesting. You know, it is really interesting. So, someone returned a puppy. What happened? Oh dear. Late again. Oh well. So, and yes, those newscasters all look like the same person, didn't they? They look like clones. Look at this. I'll show it again. These look like clones. This is ABC, NBC, and CBS. Those are the 3 legacy networks, and those are their Walter Cronkites. Those are their Edward R. Murrows. Right there. And if you ask me, I can't even tell them apart. I don't know who they are. Do any of you? Any of you know who they are? I don't know who they are. So I look at that and I think, is this why media is suffering just so much? Is this it? Because it sure does look like it to me. And yet, they're probably not even in their demographic. If you look and think about it, most of the newscasters are barely in the demographic they're trying to get. You know, if they were really interested in programming to that demo, why not have a 27-year-old newscaster? You know? Why not? I mean, obviously, you don't care about the demographic you say you're going to serve. And so it's really weird to not count anymore. You know, we don't count anymore. That's really strange to not count. You and I, we don't count. We just don't count. And that's strange to me. You know? Is it possible to any of you all, you know, that we look in...
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carellcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Carellcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carell Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Carell Cast. Driving you home or driving you crazy.
Now it's your time.
So the newscasters are chosen by focus groups and board members who say this is how we win the 25 to 54 demographic. Except that's not who's watching the news. The numbers say that out of 9 million people watching ABC News tonight, only 1.1 million are 25 to 54. 8 million are not. But who are they programming the stories to? Who are they having all the anchors be? 25 to... You know, I watch local news now, it's fucking kids. And I ain't making this up. When I watch my local news, I check the daycare center to see if they've let the people out. Because literally, they're children. They're in their early 20s. I don't trust a 25-year-old to give me the news. We didn't even go into radio until we were like 30. You know, I don't trust anyone under 30 to give me the news. If I wanted to watch new kids give the news, I'd start a channel where 12-year-olds... Well, actually, it might be more interesting if 12 and 15-year-olds gave us the news. I trust their viewpoint. A teenager? I do. I'd love to see the teenage news. Like 16-year-olds being the newscasters. Because, you know, like this Dean Withers and Harry Sisson. I'd love for... And that's why they're so popular. They're young and they'll just say anything. And they don't back down. And they're kind of fearless. And that's why Harry J. Sisson and Parnas, Aaron Parnas, that's why they're so popular. They're young and in your face. The newscasters we have now are older, and benign. They don't challenge anybody. But more importantly, they're playing to an audience of older people, and they don't appreciate that. No one really appreciates the 25 to 50, the people above 55. You know? No one appreciates us. When they're programming shows, you know, a new series, when they want, the first thing you hear out of an executive's mouth is, will it appeal to the kids? Meaning 18 to 25 and 25 to 54. Will it appeal to them? I don't want to make something that appeals to them. Let me rephrase. I think good entertainment, I think good talent appeals to all demographics. Adele, when she was 24, was making music that 70-year-olds loved and still love. Anita Baker is in her 60s now, possibly 70, and yet young people loved her and still do. Talent wins through. A good story wins through. The Pit is loved by everybody in every demo. It's one of the best shows on TV. Everybody loves Miss Piggy loves it. Everybody loves it. So I think that networks, radio, television, streaming should throw out their demos and tell advertisers, fuck you. Because that's how advertisers buy. They go have their upfronts, which they're having right now. I don't know if you guys know how this goes, but the upfronts are happening right now. And the upfronts are where they invite the media and advertisers to preview the new shows and movies and the renewal shows and movies that are coming. They're called upfronts. And then advertisers buy in to those shows based on what they've seen at these upfronts. And so at the upfronts, they stress this is going to really come home in the 25-54 demographic. This is really going to blah, 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 blah. Or this is really going to hit the 18 to 25 demographic or blah, 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 blah. And I think that's all bullshit. Because a good show is a good show. A good podcast is a good podcast. Yes, I'm older, but I say things young people should probably hear. Just like Harry Sisson and Aaron Parnas and Dean Withers say things that older people should hear. I think truth is universal to any age, just like I think entertainment is universal to any age. But I could be wrong. What do y'all think? Put it in the chat room, youtube.com/Really Carell, and you might see your comments right up here on the screen. So put it in the chat room.
If you're not visiting reallycarell.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast videos and the blog, including recipes, at reallycarell.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Carell is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Carell is the one that you need to know.
You know, on my procedural, Savannah Guthrie's mom would have already been found. I'm just saying. If we had the crew from CSI looking, either CSI Miami or Las Vegas, she'd have been found. If we had the cast of Bones looking, she'd have been found. Silent Witness, she'd have been found. Oh, yes. Law and Order, SVU. If Mariska were on the case, she'd be found. I'm telling you. No, what's taken the police so long? By the way, I hate to say this. So I watched 48 Hours. I watched Snapped. I just watched a whole Mark of a Serial Killer, it's called. I've watched Living with a Monster, which is where you live with somebody who turns out to be a serial killer or a murderer or whatever. I've watched Buried in the Backyard. I've watched, I can't tell you my whole life how many real crime shows I have watched, and then how many procedurals I have watched, which are based on real crime shows. And I will tell you right now, I know they are holding out hope, but she's dead. She's dead. If they're not found within 48 hours, 90% are then found dead. So she's got about a 10% chance. And at her age, she was probably on medications, and she hasn't had those for a week. If she has a heart condition, high blood pressure, whatever it might be, you know. So if we look at this statistically, Savannah Guthrie's mother has been murdered. I take no joy or pride in saying that. It's just what the statistics say. 90% chance that she is gone. And when there's no rhyme or reason to that, like when you don't know why they took her, well, why did they do this? And no one seems to know. Like, no one seems to get why did this happen? And I don't know why it happened. You don't know why it happened. But it happened. And now statistically, there's a very real chance that she's gone. And that all these notes and this and whatever. There's also more than a 50% chance that she knew her attacker. See, that's the other scary thing. The fact that she might have known her attacker is really, really weird. And I always find that weird, and how statistically high it is that the person that murders you or abducts you is usually someone you know. So it is probably somebody that she knew. And it is probably, sadly, that she has passed away. And that's really sad, So we'll see. Maybe it has something to do with Savannah's was gonna interview, some people that maybe they didn't want her to interview. I don't know. It would be terrible for Savannah to feel that her career, just like there was did you see the gubernatorial candidate whose daughter just got stabbed in her own house at 22 and killed? And so now the guy's dropped out of the race? Now, they're not saying whether that had anything to do with him running, but the coincidence there is pretty strong, And when on television, you have the agencies all working together. Oh, the local cops don't like the FBI, but they all work together and they end up, closing the case in an hour. In real life, the Tucson police and the FBI, and it was all disjointed. And so the investigation has not been the best. And now the statistics are that she is probably gone. And that's really sad. And I can't, I feel nothing but sadness for Savannah Guthrie and her family, of course. But this just is so terrible. And to happen, it's just so random, right? Yep. Did y'all hear that, when Andrew died, they guessed it was a pulmonary embolism. And I said, no, it wasn't. And I proved that it wasn't. But at first, that's what they said Andrew had died of. And then later on autopsy, they found out it was not. But when Catherine O'Hara, she died of a pulmonary embolus. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically a blood clot on the lung. You throw a clot, it hits the lungs, and you die. And it's almost always fatal. And that's a terrible way to go. She was in pain. It was horrible. She also had colon cancer, which they're not really attributing as a cause of death. But I wonder if she knew, because she did have colon cancer as well. Very sad, though, pulmonary embolism. That is a blood clot on the lung. Somewhere in the pulmonary system, basically in between the heart and the lungs or on the lungs. And it's really sad. The Guthrie's mom case is like the JonBenet Ramsey case in so much as we may never know. We don't know who killed JonBenet. I know the parents didn't do it, but we may never know who did. And they bungled it. See, that's what happens. Police and FBI, they all get fixated on who they think did it, and they refuse to accept that someone else could have done it. I've seen countless cases like that. They're just sure they've got their man or woman, and it ends up not being their man or woman. In the JonBenet Ramsey, they were convinced it was the parents. Just convinced. And now we know it wasn't the parents. They have been exonerated through DNA and other methods. It was not the parents. They did not kill their daughter. And now we don't know who did. And it's been so long that the evidence has degraded, and so we may never know who killed JonBenet Ramsey. They got away with it, whoever did it. And it is my hope, at least, that the Guthries get closure. That is my hope. It is my hope that they get closure. Because it would be worse if the mom was never found. Because it's like if you lose your dog. If you lose your dog and your dog is never found, you want to believe in your heart that they are still alive, that they got adopted, that, or something. You want to believe they're still alive. And so that hope is worse than knowing. So I do hope that the Guthries can get some peace and sooner or later find out what really happened to their mom. At least with JonBenet, she wasn't kidnapped and then never found. The parents knew that she was dead. With this case, with Savannah Guthrie, they don't know. And they might never know. That is the weirdest thing. They may never, ever, ever know what happened to their mom. And subsequently, they'll hold out hope. And that's sad. That's the sad part of it. All right. Well, what have we discussed today? The Epstein files and my outrage that the senators will not release the 6 names of the guys that are being protected. I am so sick of rich white people being protected from all their crimes when the rest of us have to pay. Yes, I'm white, but I'm not rich and I'm gay. So I have not received fair treatment under the law. Look, when Andrew died, I had to prove that I mattered. I was told by a court, in open court, The woman said that I had no standing, that I did not matter. I slept next to the guy every night for 11 years, every doctor's appointment, everything. Worked together, lived together, everything. And when he died, they looked right at me and said, I didn't matter. I don't count. Because the law said that gay people didn't matter, that our relationships just didn't count. Because we couldn't get married and domestic partnership didn't cover it. I had to fight for 6 years just to prove that I mattered enough to continue the lawsuit. Whether I won or lost didn't matter. I had to fight for 6 years to prove that I mattered. That's ridiculous. No other group of people would have had to do that. Heterosexuals would not have to do that. And so I look at this and I just think we're protecting the wrong people. We're not protecting the weak, the minorities, the disenfranchised. We're not protecting the people that are on the base of the Statue of Liberty. That we're not protecting those people. We are protecting the rich, white aristocracy. That's pretty strange. It's historical. We often do that. But pretty strange, if you ask me. Protecting the aristocracy while the masses suffer. Does anybody care about the girls? I mean, really, does anybody care about the girls? Because it seems to me that no one's really caring about the girls. And if we did, we would stop protecting these rich white men, including Donald Trump. The notion that they want to call Prince Andrew or they want to call the Clintons and not Trump. His name is nowhere on the list to be called to testify. But he's mentioned more than any other person except Epstein. The two names mentioned most in the Epstein files are Epstein and Trump. And he doesn't have to testify? Why does he not have to? Being president doesn't give you immunity, from having to testify. Of course, he'll say it does. He'll say it does. So anyway, California, thanks you so much. Can we get an update on the park lady? Actually, yeah. I did something that is probably uncool. And I'll fess up. So you know that the lady called me a pedophile and all of that. And then the next day I apologized. And upon doing so, she then said I was too loud, inappropriate, made off-color jokes that were gay, and no one wanted to hear it. So today, with all that I'm going through with Ember, I'd had enough. And I saw her there. Now, I could have just left her alone. I could have not gone by her or whatever. But she was with a group of people. And I walked up to her today, and I said this. I take back my apology from the other day. You are a racist, ridiculous, homophobic bigot. Your opinion not only doesn't matter to me, but shouldn't be shared in open public. The fact that you're wearing that MAGA hat means you are so stupid you probably shouldn't even exist. And if I ever see you again near me, I'm going to start talking about the most butt-ramming, cocksucking sex that you've ever heard about. And if you don't like it, you can get the fuck out of this park. And if you want to get violent, I'm ready for you then too. So I take back my apology. You're a cunt. Your son is a soon-to-be serial killer. And I never want to see you in my path again as long as I live. And the next time you call me a pedophile, we're going to fight. Yeah, I'm probably a bad person. I probably am a bad person. But it didn't sit well with me that I apologized to a person that called me a pedophile. When she defends a pedophile, when she proudly wears the hat of a sexual offender, and she's going to tell me that I'm inappropriate because I'm gay? I've had that my whole life. And I made a career of not taking it. And suddenly I'm swallowing it for the peace of the park? Nope. I told her today not only do I not apologize, but to stay the fuck out of my way. And that if I see her within earshot of me, I'm going to talk about the biggest, gayest sex party I've ever had. And if she wants to bring friends and get violent about it, I carry a weapon. So be sure you bring a bigger one. I know. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person. I know. So, yeah. I'll probably have to stop going to that park. Because I let her have it, honey. Calling me a pedophile.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
You know, we let these people go because we're afraid of them. Because they're dangerous. They're violent and they're dangerous. They will shoot you, they will beat you, and they will harm you over nothing. But you know what? I forgot. That's my whole fucking life. My entire life. People who don't even know me want to harm me because I'm gay. My whole life. Walking into a store is dangerous. Walking into a mall is dangerous. Walking down the street is dangerous. Why? Because I'm gay. And it's just as dangerous now. Gay Days in Florida is still going to go on, but one of the biggest events around Gay Days has been canceled because the hotel that was hosting this circuit party that was around Gay Days doesn't want them there because last year a sorority member, some prissy little girl, complained about the outfits the guys were wearing. Now, these bitches are half naked, running around in thong bikinis and shit, and that's okay. But the gay guys wearing harnesses or buttless chaps, though, that's too much. It is still dangerous just to be gay in this country. Trans people are being beaten every single day in this country just for being trans. So it's always been dangerous to be me. It has never not been dangerous to be me. And I forgot about that. I forgot that it's always been dangerous. So why I'm going to let this woman at the park get away with calling me a pedophile, which is their code word for gay, a label that gay people throughout history have had to fight and say, no, we are not pedophiles. Meanwhile, the guy they worship is in the Epstein files more than Christ is in the Bible and has said the most off-color things about women and keeps legislating against trans and gays and bis and all of that. If we don't start speaking up, they're going to keep winning. I have nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing. I have nothing to be ashamed of. They do. And yet we act like we can't tell them to be ashamed. We can't point out that they're the scourge of society. Not trans, not gays, not Democrats, not liberals. Them. They're the scourge. But we can't point it out because they're dangerous? Well, hun, I've had that danger my whole life. It's not fun. It's scary. But it's been my life. And so I, for one, I think it's time we start making them feel shame. Shame on Donald Trump. Shame on him. Shame. He slept with underage girls. He treats women like objects. He's a serial womanizer, a sexual predator, and a felon. Shame on him. And why the media doesn't treat him with anything but contempt is beyond me. He is not proven to be presidential. He doesn't meet the respect the office deserves. So why should we give him respect? Just because he's got the term president attached to his name? No. If you're not going to behave presidential, you don't get presidential respect. But the media gives it to him. And that's ridiculous. Meanwhile, they treat you and me like shit. They treat these protesters like they're subversives or insurgents or something. They call them terrorists. People who are shot by ICE thugs are then called terrorists. Not the ICE, which are the terrorists. We need to rephrase everything. There's power in words. We need to stop being ashamed of who we are and start making them ashamed. Because they should feel shame. And if they can't, they should still get shame put upon them. And we need to stop glorifying them. I know it's hard. TikTok is now owned by a Trump supporter. Change their algorithm, all of that. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. But we need to do it. We need to turn it around. We have the moral high ground. We do. Not them. Not them. We do. We have the moral high ground. It's time we remember that. And stop trying to be kind to people who don't deserve it. I know Bad Bunny said love is more powerful than hate, but you also have to be worthy of love. Not everything in the world is worthy of love. Jeffrey Dahmer was not worthy of love. Not everybody out there is worthy of compassion. We're not Christ. I know we're supposed to try to be like Christ, but we're not. We're human. Only Christ is divine enough to forgive the unforgivable. We're not. I don't forgive Donald Trump. I don't forgive his enablers. And I certainly don't treat them with any kind of respect at all. And that's that. All right. Yes, I worry about Ember too when we walk. I do. I worry about some strange MAGA person hurting her. And my park now feels like it's a TV show and we're in season 10 and I'm one of the only few cast members original that are left. And now I have to deal with a whole new cast. And I don't like the new cast. But I don't really like where I live anymore. I love my condo. I hate my complex. There's no activities, no people my age that want to do anything. There's no activities out by the pool. There's nothing. No movie nights, no neighbors that I go visit. I don't like my complex anymore. It is really, just like it's time for a change in this country, and it is, it's time for a change for me personally. I need a new neighborhood, a new park, a new outlook, a new attitude. I need a new attitude. Oh, yes. This morning I did a post about a song. I said, it's a deep cut, and, let's see who knows it. No one's gotten it yet. No one's going to get it. No one's going to get it. It wasn't new attitude, but that made me think about it. I am Carell. You be who you want to be, so I don't hurt anybody. I try to not hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt the lady at the park. I just wanted her to know that I don't forgive her. We'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday, the 11th. Until then, stay safe. Follow me on social media, Official Carell and Carell Official. That's Instagram. Well, don't forget TikTok.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carellcast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Carellcast. Driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Carellcast on your favorite streaming service.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Carell